join our commentary team of Nick Hawling and Bob Guerrero.
Efren Reyes is off and running.
Yes, you're talking about Strickland's break from last night when he really impressed enormously with a very soft control break, but no way Reyes is changing his breaking style.
Reyes there, deep screw, bit of left English. That could have been the hardest shot of his rack, and he's taken care of it. Just a cut on this red 3.
Well. We've seen this in earlier matches. Sometimes he needs a little jolt early on in the match just to sort of get himself in the right frame of mind, and this one has come very early indeed.
That's a shocking miss. It was a thin cut, but he really came nowhere near to making that 3. And a good start here, good spread of balls for Marlon Manalo to continue his giant killing ways.
All the hard work had been done in this rack by Efren Reyes, so he can come along with the pickpocket here. We saw his match a couple of nights ago against Yang that told us a lot about his temperament, because Yang played absolute blistering pool for 6 racks, and from 2-0 down, Yang went 6-2 up, and you thought this fellow was getting swept away, but then Yang, a couple of little mistakes, and this fellow regrouped superbly. There were many players who would have thrown in the towel the way Yang was playing.
That's correct, Nick. In that match, Yang leading 7-4, scratched on the 2. That brought Manalo to the table, and then Yang never took another shot in this tournament. Manalo blistering in that match, a tremendous break, and really, you hit it right on the nail, Nick. Great temperament. He seemed so relaxed, so confident. And he is really a consummate professional. I was speaking to Arnold, his manager, earlier in the day. He says that this whole week after dinner, he's been going back to the pool room and practicing. And that's a nifty little shot there, played with enormous amounts of top right spin to get back position on the 8. However, he's got a little bit of work to do. Lots of angle and lots of room. Just has to stay down.
Well, he's made that one look easy now. It needs to just put on the brakes, and it does, no problem whatsoever. And Manalo profits from a Reyes error. There won't be many of them, so when they come along, you've got to take advantage. Manalo has done just that. He draws first blood in this race to 11. Well, if this fella can claim another scalp, they don't come much bigger than this one, you'd have to start taking Manalo seriously as a genuine contender for the crown. I guess anybody that gets to this stage fancies their chances. But the old fox knows there's a long way to go, and we have seen it in previous matches, Bob. Reyes, sometimes it's almost like he needs to give himself a kick up the backside just to realise he is in a match. An uncharacteristic error.
Yes, that's true, Nick, but it's early days. Reyes's machine perhaps just has to get warmed up. But we're going to see lots of magic from him later on. But now the focus is on Marlon Manalo. 1 rack down. Can he reel off another set of racks just like he did against Yang and Bustamante as well?
In goes the wing ball. Is he going to get a look at the 1? Yes, he is. Nice spread of balls. Doesn't appear to be a huge problem there.
Neither player going with the fashionable soft break. Manalo hitting them hard, but sensational control on the white. And this is another practice rack for a player of this caliber.
It's said in Filipino pool circles, Bob, and you would know more about this than I would, that so many Filipino players, when they face Reyes, they're beaten mentally. They're just so in awe of being in the presence of the master that they, I wouldn't say they actually literally lie down for him, but they feel that they're beaten before they start.
I think that applies to all players in general, not just the Filipino ones. But Manalo will really have to put those feelings aside, and so far it's been smooth sailing. Just going to wind this white ball around the 9 ball, behind the 9 ball, and no real problems in store for Marlon. Marlon Manalo owns a pool hall in a suburb of Metro Manila. His dream is one day to own his own snooker table, because he still enjoys playing snooker, although he does play a lot of 9 ball now. And as we mentioned, a former Asian champion of snooker. He was also silver medalist in snooker in the 2001 World Games, which is like the Olympics for sports that are not in the Olympics. And he's accomplished in that discipline, but you can tell by the way he breaks the ball that he's certainly pretty handy at 9 ball too. And perfect position here on the 7. He's not too high on the 7, so it's a natural roll. He'll go to the cushion on the right and then back up table for position on the black 8.
It's a steady start from Manalo.
Perhaps just a bit short of pace. Would have liked a straighter shot on this 9, but with the way he's been potting, can't see this not going down.
And there it is. A very assured beginning. A confident break, some confident potting. He's 2 up already.
This is starting to look familiar, Nick. When Marlon Manalo defeated Bustamante yesterday in the round of 32, he raced to something like a 4-0 lead. And looks like it's a repeat of that here. Manalo 2-0. Reyes winning the opening lag, but failing to run out.
He doesn't look too perturbed, does he? I think Reyes has been around this game, and quite frankly has been around this table this last week or so enough to know that racks come in bunches. We've seen that certainly in the sudden death elimination phase.
Leading 2 racks to 0.
We see guys go on a run of 3, 4, 5 racks, and then something goes wrong. So Reyes is just playing the patience game at the moment, waiting, biding his time, knowing that this fella at one point is going to get a bad break, make a bad shot.
And that moment when he makes that bad break is not going to be now, because another brilliant break by Manalo, and this crowd warming up to that. Just like in the previous rack, sending the white ball into the side pocket where it stays in the middle of the table, and an easy shot on the 2. This is getting very easy for Marlon Manalo.
Well, it just goes to show, Bob, there's no right and wrong way to break on this table. It's whatever works for you. It's the polar opposite of Strickland in terms of the power he's putting in there, but the net result is every bit as effective.
He was on this table in the round of 64, and this was how he was breaking. It worked then. It's deadly efficient now. Manalo perhaps just a little bit too straight on this 4 than he would like, but he still has enough angle to stun out, to send the white down for position on the 5. No, he hasn't stunned out. He's drawn it with the touch of left. And again, perhaps under hitting this one just a tad.
Well, I guess this is where the snooker background comes in. You won't be too perturbed about that great distance between cue ball and object ball.
Excellent point, Nick. Playing snooker, a great foundation to be a good 9-ball player. Of course, Mika Immonen started out as a snooker player. He has since, of course, switched to 9-ball and has won a world championship in 2001.
The hard work has been done once again. He hasn't moved since that miss. Again, one of those long shots that just don't seem to bother him at all.
Yes, Nick, you mentioned the hard work is done. Well, there's a little bit of work here. He is straight, so he'll want to perhaps draw this just a bit to take the 9 to the lower right corner, unless he wants to draw it all the way back and take the 9 to the left. Instead, he's cheated the pocket. He found a little bit more angle there than I thought he had, and now he is perfect on this 9.
He's off to a flyer, isn't he? Manalo 3-0 up in this race to 11. The magician has left his 1 behind.
But he is one tough cookie, but still a long way to go in this race to 11.
Now this time the cue ball is down the bottom of the table. The 1 is down and he can see the blue 2, but whether he can get a fine cut along the rail, I don't know.
Yeah, he lost the white just a bit. But there is a shot on this 2. I suspect he will consider using the mechanical bridge or the rest to take this blue 2 down. He'll have no problems with that. Oh no, he's going left-handed. So obviously quite confident with the left hand. But now he's going back to the rest. Obviously with his snooker background, he will have no qualms about going to the rake here. Oh, he's just not comfortable. It's a bit awkward.
Don't forget he does have the option of the push out should he choose to take it, and I'll be very surprised if he does, but he could just play that white ball if he chose to anywhere on the table, which you're allowed to do after the break. But it would be one of the big shocks of the week if he were to do that here, and he's clearly not going to. Delicate one. No, he's gone for safety.
Yeah, the prudent choice, because position back to the 4 would have been very difficult. The white would have been all over the place. So he felt that the snooker was just too easy to pass up. And he's accomplished it very nicely.
Well, there they are, all in the line.
Yeah, this is textbook snooker stuff. You want to hide both balls so that in case one of the balls peeks out, it's okay because the other one will be hidden too. And now, as you see, he's accomplished that very well. Both balls are covered. Efren Reyes, one of the best in the world in kicking out of snookers, but that's not his best effort. Quite unlucky on that one to leave that 2 on.
Well, when you've got the most dangerous playmaker in the history of the game in the other corner, this is what you want to do. Keep him sat down. Can't hurt you from there.
really, if you look at the history of the World Pool Championship with Efren Reyes, Nick, you really have said the truth there. I remember a couple of years back when Niels Fayen eliminated Efren Reyes, I believe it was 2001. It was like run 3 racks, then Efren gets to the table, but it's a snooker. You get the ball back, run another 4 racks and another 3 racks. Efren Reyes is the greatest player in the world, but obviously if he's sitting down, there's not much he can do. And Marlon Manalo playing that game to perfection thus far.
Still a bit of work to do in this rack, but it's under control. I think the only vaguely difficult shot for him would be to make sure he gets onto that 8 after disposing of the 7. So he's got to play for position there, but the next 2 should be routine. And it's what happens after that.
Now there's a real snooker shot right there, the stun run through or stun follow, the shot that Jim was talking about the other day. Snooker players do that shot so well because it comes up in snooker a lot, and Marlon Manalo finding a use for that shot here in the pool arena. And this is the key. You're right, Nick, this is the key shot. This is the only shot that will trouble him.
What's his options here? He could go around the houses, or he could put a bit of drag on it.
I think he's going to hit this one with a little bit of bottom. The white will kick to the right side cushion. Oh, wait a minute, he's going forward. It's just a straight follow back and down. Yeah, he's taking the long shot on the 8.
As we've already seen, he doesn't mind these distance shots.
Yeah, and it's a simple shot. Really, just hit center ball. He'll be back up for the table for the 9.
One-way traffic continues. The good news for Efren Reyes, at least he got to the table. The bad news, all he could do was play himself out of a snooker and set up this man for the rest of the rack. Well, 4-0, and this is where the experience of Efren Reyes is really going to come in now. There's so many players that younger players would start to get edgy and anxious and think this is running away with me. And then when you do come up to the table, it's a case of, well, I get edgy, I just go for it. This fella is applying the pressure. But Reyes, mentally so tough, he will play the patience game, he will wait for his chance.
And he knows it's going to come, Nick, because this is 9 ball. It's so unpredictable.
Back 5. Marlon Manalo to break.
Marlon Manalo,
4-0.
even if he continues breaking well, you've got to believe that somewhere down the line, he's going to land funnily on the lowest numbered ball. But so far, he's been flawless. 3 break and run outs in a row.
Now, is this the moment that it's happened?
Yes, it is.
Well, right on cue.
Here's that one once again slamming into the jaw of the side pocket. Very unlucky there by Manalo not to have a shot on this one, especially since he controlled the white so well. And now he is sizing up his push out. He wants to put the white there to leave lots of distance for Reyes. He's going to try to bait Reyes, have him take on that long shot in the hopes that Reyes' cold arm will misfire. Now he's looking on the other side. And I'm not so sure about that. That looks like a pretty easy safety to me. Either way, actually, wherever he puts this ball, either of these options could be some kind of safety, but that's the risk you take when you play a push-out.
Push-out called.
Yes, that was inevitable. There's nothing else he can do here. And now, as Bob says, it's just a question of baiting Reyes, giving him a tiny little look at it.
Yeah, but he's done the smart thing in the push-out. He hasn't left the whole ball. He's just left a piece of this. Reyes can perhaps feather this white, send it back up the leave distance, or he can kick at this. Perhaps try to hit the one full off the kick. But God knows he's got other options swimming around in that fertile brain of his. He doesn't like it.
Now, that's interesting, Bob. A lot of players, having spent the whole match sat in their chair, would have said, well, I've got to go for this because it's just so long since I've hit a shot. But there he is, just waiting for the right moment to come along, and he doesn't think this is it. And you can see his point. Now, this is where the push-out strategy really comes in. Manalo must have seen something that he could play when he worked this push-out, and now he's got to deliver it.
He's gone for the feather, tried to feather it, and oh wow, that ball was a couple of inches away from being a very good safety, but instead he's found a gap for the one ball. Manalo has gambled with the push out and has lost.
And the patience of Efren Reyes has paid off.
Manalo threw 4 racks at Reyes, and now it's Reyes' chance to return the favor. Should be an elementary layout for him, but as I say that, he snookered himself because the white banged into the pink 4, angrily slamming the cue down.
Well, he can see a piece of it, but can he see enough of it to pot it?
I think he just might get enough of it. So there was a lot less drama in that shot than we thought. For a moment there, Reyes must have thought he was going to get hampered queuing because of that orange 5, but he's landed okay.
He's got to get up the table for the 6, but that's a very, very small problem.
Very small, especially with the way he's played that. Nice angle off this 5. He's going to have to stretch for this. Don't be surprised if he even takes this left hand. There he goes, going to the weaker hand. I was once told by a friend of mine that Efren Reyes' technique with his left hand looks even better than it does with the right hand. However, certainly that shot looked like the shot of a weaker hand there. He's overrun it and left himself plenty of angle on this 9. And a scratch to worry about too also.
Well, this would be a catastrophe if he would let this slip, and I don't think he will for 1 minute, but as you say, some thought has to go into what should have been a routine shot, and he's made it effortlessly. He's on the board. And Manalo has seen enough of Reyes to know that that could just be the first of many racks that the magician will win here. Well, it's living up to its billing, isn't it? I didn't think that this fellow would have everything his own way. Now it's going to be his turn to sit and stew for a little while, as this fella does his magic. It's amazing how many pool players, Bob, never fails to amaze me when he's on the table how many world-class pool players come out just to watch and learn.
You know, Nick, if you go to the official website of this event, worldpoolchampionship.com,
Efren Reyes to break.
they ask all the
21
players,
rack to 4.
who is your favorite player? And like 60% of things, I think 77 out of 128 said their favorite player was Efren Reyes. That's an astounding statistic. And one of the things you can learn about Efren Reyes, breaking. I believe he's a very, very underrated breaker. When you think of breaks, you think of guys like Archer, Strickland, but this guy controls the white and always gets balls down. However, there's not much he can do about bad luck like this. He has a shot on the 2, but the 6 is right up behind the white.
He actually didn't want that one going down. He wanted that sat over the pocket. Would have made this a lot easier for him. He could have played across the other way. So it is. What can he get with the cue ball after that? There's the pot, but he too has left himself a long shot.
I suspect Efren will play this as a stop ball. Leave it there for position on the 6 right after.
Well, that is out. A sensational miss. And he's taken it with a sense of equilibrium, but that is unbelievable. And that's 2 misses that you would just never ascribe to Efren Reyes.
Efren Reyes up very early on the shot. There is some movement in his body on a regular basis, but perhaps that just threw him off there. And this is just what Marlon Manalo wanted, to get back in the groove and get back on the table. But what a miss, Nick. I was not expecting that one bit. A simple shot, not a whole lot to do with the white.
Well, Bob, I nearly said, here's one of those long shots. Some pool players don't like that, but then I thought to myself, don't be silly, this is Efren Reyes. And then lo and behold, it's another miss. And just like the earlier one, you're at a loss to explain it.
Perhaps he's just not warmed up yet, hasn't had enough table time. So that's the only explanation I can give. Marlon Manalo on the verge of going 5-1 up. What a surprise this would be.
Well, the difference is very simple. Just looking over Bob's shoulder, he's got his unofficial error counting going. Manalo 0 so far.
And Efren Reyes already with 2 unforced errors.
And he's pinched another one. Well, he's not pinched it, has he? He's had it gifted to him. Twice now Reyes has had the table and virtually handed it on a plate to his opponent. Manalo takes full advantage. It's not looking too good for the magician.
It's waiting time again for Efren Reyes. After that mistake, he cedes the table, allows a rack to go onto the ledger of the man in the foreground of your picture, Marlon Manalo.
It's a race to 11, Bob, so there's plenty of time. There's no cause for any great alarm from the Reyes perspective.
Rack 7,
But
Marlon Manalo to break, leading 5 racks to 1.
the gap's getting wider, and he's getting closer to that magic number, this man.
And Marlon Manalo looking no signs at all that he's going to stumble here. He's broken so well. Well, that one perhaps not up to spec because he lost control of the white and he's paid for it. Plenty of oomph on that one.
Yes, but that's 2 breaks where he's not had a lot to play with. remember last time he broke, he was forced into a push-out.
I really expect Marlon to go here for some kind of a safety. Unless he can try to bank this one and somehow find a way to play a two-way shot. The bank is available into the left side pocket, but it's not a formality. It should be fairly easy for him to tuck that white and tuck that white behind the 9 or the 7. Use those as blocking balls. Looks like he's thinking of something else here. Perhaps send the white to the upper part of the table. Well, let's see what develops. Now he's going with my first suggestion, and it's a simple safety, and he's pulled it off.
Reyes, remember, this man doesn't need to be told this, has made a career on seeing the shots other people don't spot. And is he going for the big long bank?
It's a kick shot. This is somewhat makeable, but not today. How is this rolled up? Uh-oh. This doesn't look good for Reyes. Manalo can go for this 1-3 combination. There's still some work to do on this rack, Nick. 8 and 5 close together on the left side rail. That is a problem area that will either have to be broken up or played as a combination. So still a long way to go in this rack. The key in this situation, as in any combination, not just putting the second object ball down, but controlling the white and the 1 also for position afterwards. Somebody once brought it up in one of the telecasts that I've watched that there aren't very many sports where you have to control 3 balls at one time.
That's the challenge facing Manalo now. One of the last people, ironically enough, to qualify for this year's tournament.
That's right, Nick. He joined the qualifying here in Taiwan last week. Made it through some very grueling qualifying rounds, as did some of the Filipino players.
Well, you won't be qualifying next year. If you reach this stage, you're automatically guaranteed an invitation to next year's event. The way this fella's playing, he may be going further than the last 16. Oh, he's going to have a tricky one on that 5, isn't he? He's going to have to really get position on this, and he's looking at it now.
Yeah, but he's played a pretty good shot on this 2. He's nice and straight, which is what he wanted here off this 2, so he can be somewhat straight on the 5-8 combination as well. So simple stop shot, and here's the key shot of the rack.
Yes, this is the ticklish one, isn't it? If he's going to stumble, you would think this is where it's going to happen.
It's not straightforward at all. It looks straight, but there's lots of angle. This 5 is going to move plenty after this, so position also not guaranteed. But he's played it at a good speed, held for the 5. And I think you can say problem solved as of this moment.
Yeah, and the problem getting bigger for Efren Reyes.
Well, talking about problems, there's a hint of a smile here. And Marlon Manalo would have loved to have been very straight on this 6. Instead, he's got a bit of an angle. The natural path will take the white into the direction of the 7 and the 8. So either he wheels around the 7 and the 8, or perhaps he plays this with some bottom and takes it into the short rail to the right of your screen. So he's going to have to think about how he attacks this situation. Oh, so there was less angle than he thought, so he was able to just follow that one, perhaps with a touch of right, so he's definitely in good shape now.
Well, anybody that can beat Bustamante and Yang shouldn't be considered an underdog. When you're up against Reyes, that, though, is your status. But this underdog is proving top dog at the moment, 6-1. Well, if we talked about a 6-1 scoreline at the start of this match, Bob, I think you'd have put your money down on Reyes being the man ahead. It isn't panning out that way. Now, Reyes still won't be panicking. That's not part of his mental makeup at all. But what he has done now, those two mistakes have effectively meant that from here, when he gets back to the table, he's got to be perfect and he's got to be lucky. Any more mistakes,
leading 6 racks to 1.
and it could be too much of an obstacle for him to overcome. This man at the moment in complete control, but his last 2 breaks have not been 100% convincing.
Boy, if he needed to make an adjustment, he certainly made one here, because that's perfect once again.
Yes, whatever he did, it certainly worked. I mean, this is absolutely spot on. Look at the shot that he's got on the 2. Look how much space the 3 has got. I mean, he's broken the back of this rack already.
He said in the beginning of the telecast that one of the keys to victory for Marlon Manalo would be his break. He broke so well against Yang in the round of 64 on this stage, and so far his break has been just as reliable. When you can break like that, control the white that well, and get that kind of a scatter, this game can look very simple. Marlon's a little bit straight here on this 7. He's able to draw out for position on the 8, and he's back in line.
Bob, you talked about the importance of the break for this man. What we haven't really talked about is the importance of his positional play. His control of this cue ball, once he starts getting the run together, is just terrific, and it's effortless, isn't it? He's making it look so easy.
Yes, he's given himself pretty simple patterns, with the exception of that last rack. But Manalo is in command.
Well, it's turning into a rout, isn't it? He's already claimed 2 big scalps. Is he about to take another one? Manalo cruising.
Taipei, Taiwan, the home of the Whirlpool Championship 2004. Really good lineup of games for you, and there could be a shock on the main table. Manalo in the driving seat against Efren Reyes. Just to bring you up to date, that Marcus Shamatz will play the winner of this game. And on the other table, table number 2, 11-5. Shamatz has beaten Torsten Schober of Germany.
Nick, this is how pool can be such a cruel game, especially when it's winner breaks. Reyes makes one mistake, and Manalo punishes him with 4 racks. And now we might see some more of that here.
He didn't need the 2 to cannon into the cue ball. It was pretty much perfect. You watched that blue 2 come around and just knock the cue ball. He didn't need that, but as you say, he's still got plenty of options here.
Yeah, a bit of bad luck here by Marlon Manalo as we see him rip apart this rack once again. He has his choice of pockets for this one. Neither of those shots are particularly easy. But if he can get this shot out of the way and get decent position on the 2, he'll be a firm favorite to get to 8-1. The problem with this 2 ball, it's not available in the lower left corner pocket. So he's gonna have to make this 1 ball take a little bit of a trip around. Oh, he's just stunned it off, so it does go out into that lower pocket.
Yeah, I think you're right, Bob. I think he's found a channel.
Either that or he's going to make a thin cut into the side. He's got a bit of a smile on his face.
It's a very similar shot to the one, assuming he is going bottom left there. Bottom right on the screen at the moment. It's a very similar shot to the one that Reyes missed.
Yeah, but I can understand why he's concerned. Oh no, it doesn't pass. He has to play this one into the side, and it's hampered queuing too. This may be one of the hardest shots he's faced today. And he's knocked it in like it was a hanger. Marlon Manalo has had some pretty simple outs in this match. He's been being faced with a tough one here, and he's proving to be up to the challenge. See if he runs into the 5 here off this 3. Don't know if he can avoid it. Here's your answer, he couldn't. Uh-oh. And that's the problem when you have to move other balls that you don't want to, that are already in good position. The 7 is married with the 9. And Marlon Manalo would like to divorce that coupling very soon. He might do it he might even do it in this shot.
Yes, the old adage comes true again. You never want those balls moving around. You want cue ball and object ball, and that's it. Because usually something bad happens. Well, he's going to solve that riddle later on, he's decided.
Yeah, no real sense in breaking it up there because of where the 5 was. So either he breaks that cluster up now, or he takes the white where he's looking at now. That's pretty much the only place where he can pot that 7. I believe it still goes into the lower right. So he'll hit this one with copious amounts of left English to bring it over there. You can see very edge of the cue is where he's lined it up, and that white has to slow down.
Foul shot. Ball in hand.
And an unforced error has finally crept into the game of Marlon Manalo.
The first one of the match. And it's given hope to Efren Reyes.
Reyes now 6 racks adrift. This is an opportunity he just has to make the most of if he wants to stay in this match.
And he does. Didn't he need that? He was looking at 8-1, and even the great man would struggle to come back from that. As it is, he's got a lot of problems still, but at least he's got a chance to come up to the table and break. 7-2 Manalo. Now then, Marcus Schamat, Napoleon, up against Thorsten Schober of Germany. And Schober's challenge is over. The little man from Switzerland is through. 11-5. Took him a while, but he got there in the end, and he is delighted. From here, Marcus Schamat will no doubt hop across and watch the rest of this match, because the winner of this one will meet Marcus in the quarterfinals.
No surprises to see Marcus Schamat at this stage of the tournament. This marks the 3rd time in the last 4 years that Marcus Schamat has made the quarterfinals of the World Pool Championship.
10,
a stellar record. And of course, he missed it last year, but he made it to the round of 16. So he is really blossoming into a very consistent, reliable performer.
Now, just as right. Oh, has he got the one? Yes. I just thought he'd gone dry. As it is, he's still got a monumental headache, but I thought for a moment he'd got a dry break.
Reyes, not one of his better breaks. Lost control of the white, failed to get the corner ball, failed to get the one ball into the side. And the luck has not been on his side either.
He's got nowhere to go with it, has he? Because that blue ball is bracketed by the 3 and the 4.
And when will we see some of that Efren Reyes magic that we know is just a couple of shots away whenever he takes to the table? This is a very difficult snooker attempt, a very difficult safety, because he can hardly see that 2.
Don't forget he has the push-out option.
Yeah, but it's so hard to push out. If he's going to push out, he's going to have to push out to an almost, well, perhaps an equally difficult situation, or an even harder situation. If he pushes out anywhere near that 2...
Push out call.
And that's what he's going for.
If he pushes out anywhere near that 2, good chance of a safety, because there are 2 balls that have sandwiched that 2. Yeah, so Efren is left. Well, he's left a lot of this 2 in sight. So
And he's put a ball down as well, so he's gambled here. Reyes. Now, will Manalo take it on?
well, if he wants to play this slowly, he can use the 4 as the blocking ball. That apparently seems to be the option. And wow, in hindsight, you have to be surprised that Reyes played the push that way, showing so much of the 2, because that shot was just too easy. And Reyes now is in a world of hurt.
I played a shot exactly like that against Rico Dix last night in our match. The difference was mine was a complete fluke. Reyes has dug himself out of it, but what happens now? That doesn't look good, does it?
Are the buzzards hovering over Efren Reyes here at the World Pool Championship? Who knows? Still some ways to go, but Marlon Manalo very much in the driver's seat now. Almost a substandard, you could say, push out, especially by the standards of Reyes, and Manalo gratefully accepting the opportunity to tie up his idol.
That's a very good use of word there, substandard. That sums up the entire Efren Reyes match, quite frankly. If you knew nothing about pool and you're watching this match and you'd never heard of Efren Reyes, you would wonder what all that build-up was about, because he's barely played a shot.
He's made 2 unforced errors, a weak push out, and he's just been a you know, a spectator for most of this match.
His breaks have been inconsistent,
and his luck hasn't been all that great too.
apart from that, he's had a good day. This fella's having a day. This fella's having a week.
Oh, beautiful he played there. Draw shot, bit of left English. Marlon Manalo in full flight here.
That sound you hear is the fat lady. She's not singing, but she's clearing her throat. This fellow's got to find his game. That's when he can get back to the table.
He must be hoping now that Manalo makes a mistake on his break, But Manalo has broken splendidly every time he's been on the TV table. Reyes will have to string an ungodly number of racks together to make this match competitive. But he is the man to do it.
Rack 11, Marlon Manalo to break, leading 8 racks to 2.
But you'd need a huge change of momentum for that to happen.
Well, the first thing he needs is for this fella's game either to go right off the boil or for him to just get a bad break. Let's see what happens here. His last break was terrific. He's on. The cue ball's heading north and it's taken a nudge. And I think he's got away with it.
Well, good control of the white, but again, jostled away, just as you said, Nick. Now, this is not an ideal position here for this one, though.
Well, at least you can see it. So he can choose what to do from here.
I'm not sure if this one goes into the side pocket. I don't think it does. It seems too thin. Be a very bold play to take it into the lower right pocket from this overhead perspective.
Well, this is where playing the percentage game comes in, Bob, isn't it? It's you'd like to be a hero and pot everything and keep the fella in his chair, but sometimes it's best to play percentages. Oh! Well, who needs percentages when you can pull out shots like that?
Marlon Manalo is just in dead stroke. He's been given easy layouts and he's played lots of easy shots, medium, hard shots. But right there, he faced a real monster of a shot and he took it down with a lot of confidence. He is starting to look more and more like a winner here.
Well, if he gets position out of this one, it's tough to see where the problem is on this rack. That ball's going to move up the table. I think he'll be happy enough with that. It's another one of those long shots that he's just been making all day. And the winning post just seemingly coming ever closer for this young man.
Yeah, not a whole lot to do here. Just top this through gently. He'll take the 6 into the lower right corner. Just a bit of something of a sliding ball. Will take him to the middle of the table for the 7. And the problems are fast disappearing in this rack for Marlon Manalo. Okay. He's rather straight on this 8. He's looking at where he wants to draw that white. So a controlled draw will be needed. If he can get that perfectly, then he'll be in great shape.
As you described. Another one in the bank. His demeanor is the same now as it was at the start of this match, but surely that man's pulse is racing. He's getting very close to the biggest win of his career.
What a glorious long pot there on that one. That was a snooker player's shot right there.
Sure, he doesn't know what's hit him. We've hardly seen him at the table. When he has come up, chances are he's made a mistake. At the moment, this is going down as one of those matches that Efren Reyes would love to forget. This isn't going to make any highlight reel, is it? Unless he can come back from a long way behind.
All the highlights in this match are being supplied by this
Rack 12.
young man.
Marlon Manalo to break, leading 9 racks to 2.
I think he's really picked up the best of both worlds. He has a wonderful 9-ball break, but his snooker training has given him a level of consistency that we almost haven't seen too much of in this event.
Well, he's got one down, but he's going to have to give some very serious thought to what happens to this one ball. Again, it's bounced off that upper jaw of the centre pocket. That's happened more than once to him. And for once, not the easiest spread of balls for Manalo to deal with.
Yeah, well, this one does cut into the lower right, but it's going to take a very, very precise shot.
You know what, if he's feeling really, really brave, maybe there's a combination on board that pink 4.
Yeah, it looks like he's giving it a look, but that would be a very risky shot. Plenty of safety options. The orange 5, the 9, and the brown 7 could still prove to be handy blocking balls.
As Clint Eastwood would say, does he feel lucky? No, a very, very fine cut.
That was a fine cut, and that was also a fine cut, Nick. I couldn't believe this thing went down. He loaded it up with right English, it seems, with outside English to throw the ball, to exaggerate the path of the ball into the pocket. Perhaps that's how he pocketed that shot, because, boy, the physics police really jumping on that shot. That was a great shot. He's gonna need another one here. This 2 does trundle into the side pocket, but the question is how to get position onto the red 3. Looks like he's just going to play a soft draw and take the long shot on the 3. No other choice, really.
That's exactly what he's done. The 4, of course, is his safety valve here, because he can play that, apart from getting completely snookered, he can play that from anywhere and then get position from the rest of the table. So, if he can nail this one, there's a very good chance that another rack is going to be put against his name.
Yeah, and all he has to do here is think about the pot, because the 4 is just dangling over that pocket. Just like to make sure the white is away from the rail after this. He'll be home free.
Just like that. Well, time's running out on Reyes now.
Marlon Manalo played in his first World Pool Championship last year. He was perfect in his group. Eventually departed in the round of 32. This year he must have felt a bit miffed that he had to qualify again, but he did.
Well, he did, Bob, didn't he? He wasn't so much complaining about it, but he did say he thought he'd done enough to get an invite back to this year, and was a little bit put out at qualifying. And I wondered, as Reyes looks on, I wondered, Bob, whether that had given him an extra motivational spur. Sometimes that little chip on your shoulder can push you up another level. They certainly won't be ignoring him next year.
But as of the moment, his thoughts will be how to get position on the 7. If he was straighter on this 5, it would be no problem, but he's got lots of angle. So he's got to run the angles, and he's pulled that off perfectly. I wasn't sure if this 7 passed into the lower left corner. As you can see by the way he's played it, obviously it does. Was very close to overrunning this white, but he's all right now. Now his worry here, he can reach over for the 7, but he has to make sure he doesn't foul the 8 ball with his shirt. He's thinking of playing that left-handed. I'm not sure if that option is particularly prudent.
Well, we've seen him go to the rest before. Some players hate it. I think he's is he going to get a full stretch here, or is he going to look for the rest? Yeah, I thought he might, you know.
Again, snooker skills coming to the fore, but he knows that this is going to be a very difficult shot with the rest, because he's got to make the white move a little bit. He can't just poke at this ball. Gotta make it run. textbook rest technique there. The shooting arm parallel with the table.
Once again, it's the snooker background that's helped him. He's a bit straight on that.
Oh, he's actually, the 8 is a bit off the rail, so if he could just pinch the angle, but he must feel snake bitten. He's made a great shot, and yet very little angle. This is missable because he may want to hit this hard. However, looking from this angle, perhaps more manageable than we thought.
Yeah, the cue ball has missed that centre pocket. Not by a million miles, but he'll take that.
Really now, a real shocking upset is about to happen here at the World Pool Championship.
He's on the hill, the 9 goes down, and there is no slowing in his momentum. For Reyes to go out at any point would be a shock. A 10-2 scoreline is virtually unbelievable. Yeah, that's what we've got. Reyes must have spent 85% of this match sat in his chair, and when he has been at the table, bad things have happened, and he's made them happen. Efren Reyes won't come away from this and say, oh, I was unlucky or I didn't get the breaks. He's been the author of his own downfall here. All this man needs is one good break and then hold his nerve. And he can add another illustrious name to an already impressive set of victims.
Marlon Manalo reported that he had mixed emotions in defeating Bustamante. He said he would much rather have beaten a non-Filipino. You can bet that more mixed emotions here. He knows that Reyes is probably over time the better player, but Manalo has just played spectacularly.
He's lost the cue ball.
Foul shot. Going hard.
What a moment for that to happen.
If you remember the Yang match, the round of 64 match,
Settle down.
near the end of that match, he was breaking so well. Near the end of that match, he put a little bit too much mustard in one of his breaks, and just like that, rolled it forward. So, as the tension of the finishing post grew ever nearer, Marlon Manalo just overcooking a break at the worst possible time. And Reyes now is 9 straight racks too much to ask for? We'll find out in a moment.
This reminds me, Bob, a little bit of the Hong Kong leg of the San Miguel Asian Tour that you and I watched. He was playing, I believe, Chow Fong Pang in the final. And Chow had got himself on the hill, I think, and then got a bit of bad luck on the break. And this fella came back on the match. It's a brave man who would bet on that outcome here, but he's at the table, he's got control. And if there's one man that could run out 9 racks in a row, it's this man right here.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Nick. But he's going to have to play his shots a little bit better than that. He seems to be a little bit straight on this 7. He wanted to draw back just a little bit further. But he's played an exquisite shot there. Top left English, running the angles. He's left himself a longish shot on this 8, though.
Still there, and anytime he's still alive, he's a danger. Manalo knows it. This one is not over yet. Manalo is on the hill, but Reyes is back at the table. 10-3.
that's it. That's as close as you'll get to that big, juicy $75,000 first prize.
Reyes will be happy enough with this break.
Oh. He's left himself plenty of angle on this 3. He didn't seem too happy with this result. Perhaps he wanted to draw it all the way back for the other pocket.
Oh, it's a similar shot to the one he missed. This time he's made absolutely sure. There simply is no more margin for error for Reyes. He's got to be perfect for the rest of the match if he's going to sneak this one. He's got so far to go.
Reyes rather straight on this 4, expecting to leave this white in the vicinity of that side pocket. Oh, wow. He had me totally faked out there. He's taken it forward. I thought he was just going to draw that back, but yeah, with this shot, it's much easier to play position on the 6, so. Or rather on the, yes, it is on the 6. So Efren Reyes, well, the journey of 8 racks begins with a single step. Efren straight on the 7, so he'll just draw this back for position on the 8.
Just like that. Don't give up on him yet. A terrific break and a run out. Reyes is still there. It's one step at a time, but he's still taking those steps.
Efren Reyes does have a history of putting together some very, very long string of racks in this World Pool Championship. In 1999, I think he strung together 9. Was it 8 or 9 against Francisco Bustamante in the semi-final? So he is he is capable of getting on a roll. He's going to have to get into
Rack
a
15,
major roll
Efren
here.
Reyes to break. Train 4 racks to 10.
Uh-oh.
Foul shot. Ball in
That
hand.
could be the last act of Efren Reyes at this year's World Pool Championship.
And luck is just not gonna let him win, it seems. The 2-ball is the culprit there. That 2-ball just getting enough of that white to send it into the corner pocket. An outrageously unlucky situation for Efren Reyes. And Marlon Manalo, with ball in hand, does he have what it takes to make it to the quarterfinals?
And that, Bob, really, yes, he was unlucky, but he's been the architect of his own doom here. If he hadn't made all those mistakes early in the match, he wouldn't have been so far behind, so he'd have still had a little bit of a safety net there. He'd taken his own safety net away by those 2 sloppy shots earlier.
Well, you get exactly what you deserve much of the time in 9-ball. Sometimes you don't, sometimes you do. And is Marlon Manalo deserving of a quarterfinals slot? If he can take care of business here, the answer is yes.
The pulse will be racing. The blood will be pounding through his veins. The heart will be racing. If we could put a monitor on him, I don't think we'd better keep up with it. But he's got to keep all those emotions under control for 5 more pots.
Well, if the heart is racing, Nick, he sure doesn't look it. He was wrong-sided on that 4. He wanted to be further out with the white so he could just stun it and get position on the 5. He was wrong-sided. He had to play that one off one rail. And he managed to do that with aplomb. And now, really, this is it. All of the problems have been put away. Who would have thought that Marlon Manalo, lightly regarded Filipino snooker player, would eliminate Yang, Bustamante, and Reyes in succession? A new star of 9-ball has just been born. But before we get ahead of ourselves, perhaps just a little bit straight on this 7.
I don't think this audience knows what to make of this, Bob. They came to see Reyes, everybody does, but they love an underdog as well. And they're just stunned like the rest of us are. If this goes down, it's yet another huge upset. You'd have got long odds on that, wouldn't you? Efren Reyes joins Yang Qingshun and Francisco Bustamante on the sidelines of the 2004 World Pool Championship because they ran into Manalo, a man in rich form, a man who doesn't know that he's not supposed to be winning these matches. He doesn't know that snooker players can't come in here and take pool by storm. He had a chip on his shoulder starting out, and it's propelled him all the way to the last 8, and who knows how much further. Here's the highlights from probably the biggest win of this young man's career.